PlayStation has long been the top dog when it comes to releasing some of the best console exclusives to date. It's one of the many reasons why so many people are PlayStation loyalists, and Sony's upcoming lineup of games that it's got in its pipeline is no less impressive. So today we're counting down the best exclusive titles that the PlayStation boasts, with our list of the top 10 best PS4 exclusives. Number 10. BLOODBORNE. If you like a challenge, BLOODBORNE is for you. Released in 2015, it was crafted by the same devs who brought you Dark Souls. You play a character known as the Hunter who travels through a gothic Victorian era-inspired city, whose inhabitants have an abnormal blood-borne disease. Fighting sometimes terrifying beasts and interacting with curious NPCs throughout your journey, your goal is to find the source of this plague and stop it. BLOODBORNE scored the title of Game of the Year by several publications, and it features a whole lot of elements that fans of the Dark Souls franchise will find familiar. Moving on to number 9, the Little Big Planet franchise. Little Big Planet is one of the most innovative franchises out there. This adorable and challenging puzzle platformer from developers Media Molecule and Sony follows the adventures of a wonderful little protagonist named Sackboy. Rather than just focusing on the narrative, the franchise emphasizes user-generated content, allowing gamers to play, create, and share, meaning you can craft your own levels in the game for others to play, and highly customize your own Sackboy, whether you're playing online or in the game's story modes. Most of the titles have scored critical acclaim, with the first two main titles being arguably the best released so far. There was also a cool thing that was announced a little while back called Little Big Planet Hub, a free-to-play game, but there's been no word on it since August 2013. Here's hoping it's still coming. And at number 8, Until Dawn. Until Dawn is arguably one of the best horror games out there. It follows the story of a group of friends who go away to their friend's cottage in a remote part of Western Canada. Two of the group meet a mysterious tragic end, so the following year their brother decides to have everyone come up to the cottage on the anniversary of their death as part of a way to cope. This is when trouble starts. The friends are hunted by a serial killer and another supernatural force, and you flitter between each of them, making split-second decisions that will determine whether they live or die. By the end of the game, you can either finish by having kept them all alive, or have a handful of them killed, or worse, all of them dead. The devs behind it are back at it again too, having just announced a new horror anthology series that operates on similar mechanics, and the first title, Man of Medan, looks just as horrifying as its predecessor. And at number 7, Detroit Become Human. Released in 2018, David Cage's latest video game surpasses his Press X to Jason claim to fame, Heavy Rain. But fear not, it still has its narrative flaws, including a whole lot of criticism for being a story set in Detroit that didn't really deal with the systematic oppression that its title city has endured over the years. That being said, its 3 playable characters all experience a plethora of difficult decisions that, depending on how you play, give you severely different endings by the time you work your way through the game, and the graphics are fantastic. Its futuristic setting has a lot to offer visually. If you're looking for something that allows you to weave your own story, Detroit is probably up your alley. And at number 6, Persona 5. Persona 5 is a beloved RPG game that takes place in modern-day Tokyo. You play as a student who has been transferred to a fictional academy after being accused of an assault that they didn't commit. Over the course of your school year, you find that your student and others at the school have the ability to awaken something called their persona powers, turning them into vigilantes who explore the metaverse, a place in which humanity's subconscious desires physically manifest. As you can imagine, the gameplay contains some pretty wickedly interesting stuff. Persona 5 is the 6th Persona title released to date, and upon its release, received critical acclaim, with some critics calling it an unabashed masterpiece. And at 5, Shadow of the Colossus. Shadow of the Colossus is an action-adventure game that was originally released for the PS2 back in 2005. At the time, it was hailed for its extraordinary visuals and minimalist landscape designs. Flash forward to 2018, the game was remade for the PS4 using ultra-high-definition art assets, reworking the controls but not revising the story. You play as a young man who is called Wander, entering a forbidden land to defeat 16 colossi in an attempt to restore the life of a girl named Mono, all while solving puzzles along the way. The ending is often considered one of the most emotional and tragic endings in video game history too, and for a long while has had fans speculating whether its ending could lead to a sequel. There has also been talk of a feature film adaptation at Sony since 2009, but nothing has come from that yet. Moving on to number 4, Horizon Zero Dawn. Horizon Zero Dawn was released in 2017, and quickly became a forerunner for that year for Game of the Year. A beautiful open world in which you play a female protagonist named Aloy, you navigate throughout a world overrun by machines in the 31st century, using a variety of techniques to put an end to the robotic creatures who threaten you along your adventure. Praised for its character development, story depth, and visual aesthetics, some critics even went as far as calling it a near-perfect story with a refreshing pace. And at number 3, Uncharted 4: A Thief's End. Naughty Dog's Uncharted franchise has always been a fan favorite. A Thief's End is the final chapter in protagonist Nathan Drake's saga, and it ups the ante in terms of gameplay mechanics and graphics compared to the series' other titles. There's more open levels, better combat and stealth mechanics, and you get to ride around in vehicles. Always a fun time. And of course, there's a whole lot of Nathan's charm as per usual. The story follows Nathan, now retired, getting back into the game once his brother, who he believed was dead, shows up on his doorstep. Side note, there's a feature film in the works for this one too, starring Spider-Man Homecoming star Tom Holland as Nathan Drake, which has fans speculating that we'll be getting an origin story out of the movie. And at number 2, The Last of Us. The Last of Us is often considered to be one of the greatest video games of all time. From fantastic characters to a heart-wrenching narrative and applauded game mechanics, it's not hard to fall in love with this action-adventure survival horror game. You follow the story of Joel and Ellie. Joel, whose daughter was horribly murdered during the opening scene of the game, has survived in this very post-apocalyptic world, in which a virus has caused humans to mutate into cannibalistic creatures. Joel is a smuggler, who is tasked with smuggling Ellie across the country, who has shown an immunity to the virus, a first in this world. You switch between combat with weapons, both real and makeshift, which are incredibly limited, to stealth, creeping around to avoid being heard by the infected. Plus, both Ellie and Joel are playable at points. The game is getting a sequel too, one of the most highly anticipated titles currently in the works, and its story, based on the gameplay trailers currently released, takes place years later, hinting that Ellie is on a quest for revenge. And finally, in at number 1, God of War. All of the God of War titles by Santa Monica Studios have been PlayStation exclusives. Highly adored internationally, the franchise took it up a notch with their 2018 release of God of War, a version of the hack and slash that took some major notes from the RPG genre, and provided not only an immersive and action-packed open world, but also some much-needed character development for Kratos, all while not sacrificing the aspects of the franchise that long-term fans know and love. It was a huge success, both critically and commercially, and the series explored new territory in the form of Norse mythology, departing from the Greek mythology that the previous titles in the series were inspired by. Alright, there we have it, friends. How many of these games do you adore? What exclusive titles sold you on getting a PlayStation? Let us know your picks in those comments below. If you dug this video, spread the love and hit that like button, and subscribe to Top 10 Gaming for more video game content, from lists to theories to let's plays. We stream typically every Tuesday and Thursday at 3 PM Eastern Time, so head on over and join us. In the meantime though, thanks for watching everybody. I'll catch you on the next video.